Silence can be louder than headlines. And when the British media chose to ignore Kate Middleton's birthday while obsessively tracking Prince Harry, that silence told a much bigger story. A story about misplaced priorities, crumbling royal narratives, and a media machine so fixated on the Sussexes that it can't see what's falling apart right in front of it. While Harry and Meghan continue building a life defined by freedom, purpose, and authenticity, the institution they left behind appears more fractured than ever. Marriages strained, milestones ignored, and a carefully curated royal image beginning to crack under public scrutiny. The fairy tale no longer convinces, the mask keeps slipping, and the public is no longer willing to play along. This isn't about gossip, it's about patterns, power, and why the truth keeps circling back to the same uncomfortable conclusion. The Sussexes were never the problem, they were the distraction. The British media's stunning silence on Kate Middleton's birthday speaks volumes about the fractured state of the royal household, especially when outlets chose instead to fixate on Prince Harry's movements and controversies rather than acknowledge the future Queen Consort on her special day. This pattern of neglect isn't new. For years now, William has reportedly sidestepped celebrating Kate's birthdays and other significant milestones that should matter for a couple, yet the public watches this marriage deteriorate while Kate clings to her dream of the crown, seemingly willing to sacrifice her self-respect in the process. The toxic obsession the British tabloids maintain with the Sussexes, even as they've rebuilt their lives an ocean away, reveals a kingdom divided and a media machine that's lost its way, unable to move past the drama and chaos that has consumed their coverage for far too long. What was once a fairy tale appears increasingly like a torment, with William's cold indifference broadcast to the world as a clear message that he's mentally checked out, while Kate keeps pushing forward, hoping against hope that proximity to royalty might somehow fill the void where genuine partnership should be. But the public isn't blind to what's happening behind palace walls, and neither should the media stop enabling this dysfunction by continuing to chase shadows instead of reporting truth. On what should have been Kate's day to shine, the British media instead trained its relentless spotlight on Prince Harry, effectively sidelining the Princess of Wales on her own birthday, a choice that speaks volumes about the current state of affairs within the royal family. This glaring oversight wasn't merely a scheduling mishap or editorial accident. It reflected a deliberate shift in coverage that left many wondering where the family's true priorities actually lie. The selective attention from outlets that once celebrated Kate's milestones with fawning regularity now felt cold and dismissive, raising uncomfortable questions about whether the media's bias reveals deeper fractures within the institution itself. For observers paying close attention, and make no mistake, people are watching, this pattern of neglect on significant occasions reveals a troubling disconnect between what the royal family projects publicly and what their actions actually demonstrate. The public's perception of such selective media attention doesn't exist in a vacuum. It feeds into a larger narrative about tensions, distance, and the uncomfortable reality that perhaps not everything within those palace walls is as harmonious as the official statements suggest. When a birthday passes with minimal acknowledgement, while controversy surrounding other family members dominates the headlines, it sends a message, whether intentional or not, about whose story the media and, by extension, the institution itself has chosen to prioritize in this moment. Year after year, Prince William has made a calculated choice to overlook Kate's birthday, not once but repeatedly, a pattern so glaring that even the most devoted royal family apologists cannot deny what's unfolding before our eyes. The memorial days that should matter most to a couple, the celebrations that mark the fabric of their shared life together, have been systematically swept aside, buried beneath William's apparent indifference. These aren't isolated incidents or innocent oversights. They're clear, unmistakable signals about the true state of their relationship, messages sent directly to Kate and broadcast to the entire world that something has fundamentally broken. When a husband cannot be bothered to acknowledge his wife on her special day, not once, but repeatedly, what is he really telling her? What is he broadcasting to us all? The answer sits heavy and uncomfortable, that this marriage has become something hollow, something performative, something that exists only because Kate refuses to let it die. And yet William continues to send these crushing messages year after year, making it abundantly clear through his actions that for him it's over. Yet the most troubling aspect of this entire saga raises a critical question about Kate's own self-respect and personal dignity. The relentless pursuit of becoming Queen, a title that glimmers with promise and prestige, appears to come at an increasingly steep personal cost, one that Kate seems willing to pay, regardless of the damage to her own well-being. Staying in a marriage that has become visibly troubled, where the affection and respect between partners has seemingly eroded with each passing year, forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about what Kate is willing to endure for the sake of that crown. The public scrutiny intensifies these questions about her choices and motivations. Is the promise of queenship worth sacrificing her dignity, her happiness, her sense of self-worth? As observers watch from the sidelines, seeing William's apparent indifference, the years of ignored birthdays and overlooked moments, we cannot help but wonder if Kate has become so fixated on this singular goal that she has lost sight of what truly matters, her own respect for herself. Diana, for all her struggles with the institution, never surrendered her self-respect in quite the same way, and that distinction haunts the narrative unfolding before us. When discussions arise comparing Kate Middleton to Princess Diana, it's crucial to recognise that while Diana maintained her self-respect even as she navigated the crushing weight of royal expectations and personal betrayals, Kate's situation differs significantly from Diana's historical trajectory. Diana stood firm in her convictions and refused to compromise her dignity despite the intense scrutiny and emotional turmoil she endured within the institution, whereas Kate's circumstances exist within a vastly different cultural and media landscape where the rules of royal engagement have fundamentally shifted. The historical context of their respective eras highlights how changing expectations for royal women have evolved. Diana fought against an unyielding system that offered her few escape routes, while Kate operates in a modern age where such comparisons, however well-intentioned, may actually diminish rather than honour her own distinct experience. To invoke Diana's legacy as a measuring stick for Kate's conduct risks oversimplifying the complexities of both women's journeys and ignores the reality that each generation of royal women must forge her own path through unprecedented challenges, rather than simply echoing the struggles of those who came before. The royal family's carefully constructed public image has taken serious hits as their mishandling of internal family dynamics continues to expose the cracks in their carefully curated façade. For years, the institution managed to keep dysfunction behind palace walls, but now the rejection and fractures within the royal household are impossible for the public to ignore. William's repeated dismissal of Kate's milestones, the glaring absence of acknowledgment on significant dates, and the visible strain between family members have all become glaringly apparent to anyone paying attention. The world watches as the royals struggle to manage these internal conflicts, yet their attempts to control the narrative only make things worse, revealing an institution desperately trying to hold together, while its members seem to be pulling in opposite directions. When the public can plainly see the dysfunction playing out year after year, credibility crumbles, and no amount of official statements or carefully staged photographs can fix what's broken at the core. The royal family's greatest challenge isn't external enemies or media scrutiny, but their own inability to present even a semblance of unity and respect for one another. And that's a problem they can't spin away. The British tabloids' obsessive coverage of Prince Harry and Meghan remains nothing short of sickening, even 5 years after their departure from royal duties. Day after day, these messy outlets churn out endless stories about the couple, as if they have nothing better to report on. Yet somehow, legitimate issues affecting the actual working members of the royal family get completely ignored. This unhealthy fixation has become utterly ridiculous. The trashy tabloid machine refuses to let go, constantly rehashing the same drama while turning a blind eye to real family matters that deserve scrutiny and attention. When will this madness finally stop? The media's obsessive behaviour distracts from the genuine problems and concerns within the institution itself, drowning out any meaningful conversation about those who actually carry out royal duties day in and day out. It's clear the tabloids would rather feed their readers sensational gossip about the Sussexes than do any real journalism, and that choice says everything about what's wrong with the way the British press operates. They've fumbled the bag, big time, and everyone can see it. In today's digital age, audiences have become remarkably astute observers. They catch the inconsistencies, notice the omissions, and call out what doesn't add up. The British media may attempt to spin narratives about the royal family, but everyday people aren't buying it anymore. Social media has transformed the game entirely. Fans and critics alike can now broadcast their thoughts instantaneously, commenting directly on royal affairs without gatekeepers controlling the conversation. What was once accepted at face value from official statements and carefully curated palace announcements now faces immediate scrutiny and backlash from a skeptical public. People are paying attention to what gets coverage and what suspiciously doesn't. They're noticing which birthdays get celebrated with fanfare and which ones are mysteriously overlooked, which family members receive glowing tributes and which ones mysteriously fade into the background. This growing skepticism about official royal family communications has become impossible to ignore. The public is saying loud and clear, "We're not stupid, we're not blind." They see the patterns, they understand the subtext, and they're no longer willing to accept carefully constructed PR narratives as truth. The royals fumbled the bag, and everyone knows it. If conversations like this matter to you, if you're tired of recycled narratives, selective outrage, and a media ecosystem that refuses to hold power accountable, make sure you're subscribed. This space exists to cut through the noise and say what others won't. And if you'd like to support this channel even further, super thanks is always appreciated. Your support helps keep these conversations honest, independent, and unapologetically real. Every contribution makes a difference, and it never goes unnoticed. The truth doesn't need palace approval. It just needs people willing to hear it.